Hi, everybody. Welcome to Gals, Ghosts, and Ladies Saturday night live stream. This is Jennifer from Gals, and it is Saturday, October 4th at 5:30 p.m. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad to be here. Let's see, what do I have for a banner? Let's see. Show my banner. Welcome to part 2 of the Bridgewater Triangle tonight. We talked last week about the Bridgewater Triangle, and it was very exciting, and we had a great guest. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And I'm really looking forward to presenting more way cool shit about the Bridgewater Triangle, of which the next hour isn't even going to be enough to scratch the surface. So there's going to be a part 3 and part 4 and part 5 in the future on the Bridgewater Triangle. So let me bounce over to comments. I would certainly like to hear from anybody who's there. Say hello. Please let me know that you can hear me. Hi, Lisa. We have a very exciting show up ahead. I'm glad you're here. And I'm also waiting for Michelle to log on because, Michelle, I've got something to say to you, my cousin Michelle. So while I'm waiting for a few more people to log on, I just want to say, as usual, welcome to Gals, Ghosts, and Ladies. I'm Jennifer. This is our Saturday night live stream. Tonight we're going to be talking part 2 on the Bridgewater Triangle. We're also live on YouTube. So, Owl, if you're out there or anybody else is watching from YouTube, please make a comment. I would love to hear from you. Also, let's see. I'm learning some stuff. Let's see. I'm learning some stuff. Hey, like and subscribe. Definitely like on Facebook. Go over to YouTube and subscribe. Right now I have 19 subscribers and I'm exceedingly proud of that. Exceedingly proud of that. So please like and subscribe. And if you subscribe, hit notifications and you'll never miss a video when they drop, as the expression goes. And also I just wanted to show off StreamYard that I learned something new, how to say like and subscribe. So there is that. So yeah, so Facebook and YouTube live streaming. Thank you if you're watching live on either one, and certainly thank you if you're watching a live stream at a later time. I appreciate that as well. This is an 18 and over conversation. We talk about things that can be disturbing to some people. And like I said, I think it's kind of disturbing that I'm not more disturbed by some of this stuff, and you guys too. I just had a little glitch there. Sorry about that. But as I was saying, this is an 18 and over conversation. And also, I swear a lot. I am not going to hold back my language. I'm 61, and I'm warning everybody in advance that I'm going to drop an F-bomb and I'm going to say shit and, stuff like that. So also, this is a 420 friendly platform. Smoke them if you got them. I know I will. Enjoy yourselves tonight. Pour yourself a glass of wine, a cup of coffee, open a cold beer. Whatever you're doing tonight to relax, why don't you say in comments? Let me know what your gig is. And if you don't want to say, let's see, there's comments. If you don't want to say how you're relaxing, let me know where you're from, where are you watching from tonight. I would find that to be very exciting. And also, as always, send show ideas, because boy, do I have a long list of stuff that I'm really looking forward to presenting in the future. I have my beverage as always. Tonight it's water and just a little splash of Gatorade for flavor. But I love my new mug. I think it's very on brand for Gals, Ghosts, and Ladies. I got this at TJ Maxx. I'm finding the older I get, it's the little things in life that make me happy, like an on brand coffee mug. Or my purple paper and my rose-colored pens and my purple pens. Life is too short to have shitty pens. And that's how I feel about that. But anyways, as always, I did all the research for tonight's show. If anybody wants to know any of my sources, please DM me. I'll be glad to let you know. But you know what? You're all grown-ups. Don't just take my word for it. Look it up yourself. You got a Google finger. If I say something, if you don't believe it or you question it, look it up. I found it on the internet. And I try to use discretion. I don't just, everything isn't Wikipedia. but please look it up yourself. Don't take my word for it, because I don't know everything. And that being said, there's going to be errors in my research, and there's going to be errors in how I present things back, and I own those errors, and I apologize in advance. If I can catch it, I'll correct it. But otherwise, again, my research, my errors. So I apologize in advance for any mistakes that I do make. Also, I am new at live streaming, and I love, love, love StreamYard. But I do, again, apologize in advance for any mistakes that I make during the live stream. I was going to say something else about StreamYard, but oh, yeah, feel free to critique me, but please be kind. Please be kind. So let's see. Michelle, are you there yet? Because I want to say something to Michelle. All right, Michelle, say hello when you get there, because I'm going to have a little side thing for you. So I also want to say thanks to Drew Babineau for joining us last week. Was he an awesome guest or what? Yes, he was. I think everybody enjoyed him. I just find him to be just one of the nicest people I've ever met. And I enjoy the activities that he puts on. He put on a great ghost hunt. I enjoyed talking about his experiences. I thought, oh, if you ever have an opportunity to go to one of his events, go and look up his stuff on the internet, The Haunted Raven. Oh, hi, Linda. There's my friend Linda. Thank you. I'm glad you like the background. But yeah, definitely check out Drew, The Haunted Raven, his photography, and his ghost hunt stuff. And he's just such a great guy. I think he shared some really cool stuff last week. He shared some EVPs. I had an interesting thought. Lisa, if you remember one of Drew's EVPs that he got in the Hockomock Swamp, and I want to talk about that in a minute. So much to talk about in the Bridgewater Triangle. But an EVP that Drew got in the Hockomock Swamp was all clicks. And I'm just going to throw this out there. I wonder if there were any indigenous people in that area that used a click communication system, because some indigenous tribes in some countries still do. And to take it a step further, whether or not it was a main language, I don't know, but it was the Wampanoag Indians in a place like the Hockomock Swamp, where they knew the ins and outs of it and how to hide and how to look for trouble and be on the lookout and that kind of stuff. Wouldn't a click communication system kind of make sense as a covert way to communicate in a swamp if you were an indigenous group of people and you're being invaded by somebody who didn't know your swamp? It just kind of makes sense to me. So anyways, I just thought the EVP was cool, and Drew thought maybe like some kind of like extraterrestrial activity or something like that, which certainly, coming from the Bridgewater Triangle, is feasible. But I thought of that click communication might have been something different altogether, being something from an indigenous people. But that was just my thought. And if you are watching Gals, Ghosts, and Ladies, you know you are listening to my thoughts and my opinions on everything that I talk about. And also, I wanted to mention that something that Drew and I both talked about were time slips. Time slips are something they talk about in the Bridgewater Triangle where people have lost time. You've heard of that kind of thing, probably in regard to alien abduction or something like that. But Drew had an experience of losing time. We did an investigation at the Peter Oliver House in Middleborough. You hear me talk about that place a lot, and that's in the Bridgewater Triangle. He took a group of people out onto the grounds, and he came back in. This was a year ago. One of the things that I wanted to ask Drew about last week was, what happened while you were out there? Because I stayed behind, because I ain't afraid of no ghosts, but I am afraid of coyotes and things in the wild. So I did not go out with the group in the dark, but Drew did. So I asked him about that last week, and he said, that's really weird. He said, I remember so much about, I remember this, I remember that. And that was my water bottle just clicked. And he remembered so many things about the night, but he said he couldn't really remember what happened when they went outside. So, and that was really last week was the first time, I think, in a year that he was really articulating that and and for both of us to kind of come to that realization that he lost time. He lost 45 minutes to an hour of time. Oh, Linda, EVP, electronic voice phenomenon. So let me back up and explain. Linda, thank you for asking. EVP, electronic voice phenomenon. It's using I just happen to have one right here, a digital audio recorder that can pick up different frequencies and different sounds. So it's digital. So it would be different from like a regular tape recorder or something. So it's digital. It tends to pick up, like I said, different frequencies and different sounds. So if you were to ask questions and listen back, it's possible you could hear an answer to something. So Drew was in the Hockomock Swamp and he was asking questions. You know, is there somebody here with us? Those kind of general ghost hunt questions, I guess you would say. And when he played back the tape, he didn't hear it with his own ears in the swamp. But when he played back his EVP, he was asking questions and the responses were coming back in this very strange series of clicks that him and the other people that he was with did not hear with their own ears, but heard on their audio recorder. So that's why I brought up that other theory that Drew had said that I mean, the Bridgewater Triangle. We're going to talk more later on about a famous UFO sighting and a few other UFO sightings in the Bridgewater Triangle that were really, really credible. So Drew, anyways, was saying that he thought it might be like an extraterrestrial communication, which is, again, Bridgewater Triangle, not that far-fetched, that he captured in that EVP, that recording of electric voice phenomenon. So I was presenting another, what I thought could be another feasible theory to that. And I think that's what I like so much about what I'm doing right now with Gals, Ghosts, and Ladies, and looking up these stories of the macabre and these things of the mystery in macabre, is really opening my own personal mind up to different theories and different possibilities, and trying not to be so narcissistic that I'm the only thing that exists, that there aren't possibly things in other galaxies, or that there aren't possibly things in really right next to me in a parallel universe. So just trying to open my mind up to these kind of things. And I just find this stuff interesting. I am not saying this is so. I am saying, what if this is a possibility? Like Eric von Daniken, I would recommend anybody look him up. Eric von Daniken, he wrote Chariots of the Gods, and he was just accused of blasphemy, but his book is all question marks. What if? That's kind of the approach I feel that I'm taking for myself on this. What if? And certainly, I like to think I don't fall lock, stock, and barrel for everything. There are some things out there that I really struggle with, like sightings of giant birds in the Bridgewater Triangle. Last weekend, I drove to Middleborough and I saw turkey vultures that had 6-8 foot wing spans, and they weren't pterodactyls. So I think it's easy in a place like the Bridgewater Triangle, where there is so much weird shit, to sometimes assume everything is weird shit. And it's not. We know that. And you've got to debunk stuff. You know that. So again, Linda, thank you for the question, and thank you for reminding me that when I do kind of throw these things out there, that I really should explain what they are for everybody. Thank you for that. And as I was saying, pardon me for looking at my notes, thanking Drew for being such a great guest. I recommend that you do go back to YouTube or Facebook and watch last week's episode, our interview with Drew. And again, he's just such a nice guy, and I think you'll find what he's got to say very interesting. And check out his photography, thehauntedraven.com. He's a great photographer. But so on that note, I still don't see my cousin Michelle. Michelle, when you get here, say hello, because I wanted to let you know something that's about mysterious and macabre. But so I want to kind of give, I guess, a recap of the Bridgewater Triangle. So welcome everybody to part 2 on the Bridgewater Triangle. Oh my God, cryptids, UFO sightings, thunderbirds, satanic cults, ancient hieroglyphs, St. Elmo's fire, poltergeist activity, and so much more. This is the area of the Bridgewater Triangle. If you look at the map, at the top of the map, there's a map of Massachusetts, and I put a red dot where Boston is, and then you see that square. That's the area where the Bridgewater Triangle is. And if you look at the bigger part of the triangle, you can see that it starts up around Abington, goes down to Freetown, heads over to Rehoboth and Seekonk, and then back up. And of course, like anything in nature, it's not hard and fast lines. These are very kind of loose lines. Shit happens in Attleboro and things happen in, further down in Fall River and that kind of stuff. It's this kind of loose boundary is what it is. And I did circle in the middle of the Hockomock Swamp. We're going to talk about that. But just take a second and look at this graphic. This is just not even, this isn't even a handful. Not even a handful of things that are going on in that place. You've got the Taunton State Hospital where visitors report feeling their shoulders touch and their legs pulled and all kinds of weird shit. You've got the redheaded hitchhiker, the Hornbein School. Interesting, Rehoboth. The Hornbein. Oh, hi, Sybil. Nice to see you. And yeah, it really does expand beyond that. The Hornbein School in Rehoboth. Rehoboth is considered the home of public education in the United States. At one point, I think there were between 13 and 15 one-room schoolhouses in Rehoboth. At this time, only one is left standing, and that's the Hornbein School. And there are many reports of people looking in the window and seeing kind of an apparition of a schoolmarm and that kind of thing. And then you've got Stonehill College. People report hearing a little girl crying and laughing. And then I don't see Bridgewater College in here, but Bridgewater College, quite a few years back, there was a bad fire at Bridgewater College. I want to say in the 1920s or 40s. I'm not sure. I'm sure I've got it in my notes. But people report seeing somebody running down the hall and yelling fire. There's a very large amount of Bigfoot sightings in this area. There's a large amount of UFO sightings in this area. There's Pukwudgie sightings. We're going to talk about that. But you see the Hockomock Swamp there in the middle. It's 16,000 acres. It's the largest freshwater swamp in Massachusetts. And it does supply fresh water, drinking water to all these areas. And if you see in the middle, there is a little spot of blue, and that's Lake Nippanicket. I'm sure I'm doing a hatchet job on that, but we're going to talk about Lake Nippanicket too in the Hockomock Swamp. So as you can see, just from this little graphic, just a handful of things of just some really weird stuff. Sightings of large dogs, a dog as large as ponies that took down 2 ponies, sightings of a black panther, sightings of a large yellow cat, sightings of snakes as thick as stovepipes. There's also a lot of stone stuff there too. But anyways, so that area being fresh water and low flatland like marshes are, has been settled. Like so many areas that we talk about on Ghosts and Ladies where weird stuff happens. What you have here is settlements going back prehistorical. There are bones that they have identified in the Hockomock Swamp area going back more than 8,000 years. So if there's civilization there 8,000 years ago, if there's civilization there 10,000 years ago, 12,000 years ago, and longer. So these kind of areas, they've been civilized for a long time. So you have a lot of people, you have a lot of life, you have a lot of death, you have a lot of activity, you have a lot of energy, you have a lot of war, betrayal, bloodshed. In the area of the Hockomock Swamp, I'm not going to get into the details, but I would encourage you to look it up. King Philip's War. King Philip was a Wampanoag and he was betrayed by the colonists, and there was bloodshed, and per capita, it was the bloodiest war on U.S. soil. There like 1 out of every 5 soldiers was killed, and it was very, very bloody on both sides. And like I said, per capita, it still stands as the bloodiest battle on American soil. And I make no comment about who's right and who's wrong. It was a terrible thing. We all agree on that. What happened? So, but that happened there, and that was a war. And betrayal has so much energy to it. We know that. So people have been settled there for such a long time. Let's see. And I heard this. I thought this was really interesting. I was watching a video today about the Bridgewater Triangle because I'm mildly obsessed right now. They said when you look out at the Hockomock Swamp, it's like primordial ooze. It's so green and so slimy and so thick, and it looks like you could walk over it. So it sounds like it just looks weird and creepy too. I think I might have to have a road trip in my future. Sybil, let's meet there one of these days. That's got to be kind of down your way, but that sounds like a fun road trip. Put that on the paranormal road trip bucket list. So let's see, that was the Wampanoag that lived there, and they spoke the Algonquin language. And Hockomock, the Hockomock Swamp, Hockomock means place where spirits dwell. So for many, many years, this place had a history of being a place where spirits dwell, being an active place. And so much so, even with the animosity between colonists and the indigenous people, the Wampanoags warned the colonists about this area and said, be careful in this area. So again, even with that kind of literally bad blood between them, they tried to warn the colonists to really be careful in there because weird shit was happening. I mean, it's named the place where spirits dwell. It is said that Hobomack, and anybody from this area has certainly heard that name before, Hobomack. Hobomack was the chief deity of death and disease, and he still inhabits that area. Some people had tried to say that King Philip's war with all the bloodshed maybe kind of cast a curse or something on the land, but it didn't, because there's just been reports of weird stuff happening long before that happened in the 1600s. Because again, this place goes back over 8,000 years with reports of really weird stuff happening. Let's see. It's the Hockomock Swamp is the home of the Pukwudgie, which, as I said before, is not to be confused with the Wendigo. Wendigo is definitely a legend. I think more to me in my head, and I could be way wrong about this, so this is my thought on this. I'll have to look it up. I think the Wendigo tends to be maybe more northeast. I don't know why I think of Maine, maybe because Stephen King, Pet Sematary, Wendigo. But at first I thought a Wendigo and a Pukwudgie were interchangeable, but I don't think so. I think a Wendigo, from what I can recall, is kind of a big entity, maybe almost like a paranormal Sasquatch kind of a thing. But a Pukwudgie is this weird dude. Okay, so he's about 2 to 3 feet tall, and he can appear and disappear at will. They were supposedly once friendly to humans. I don't necessarily know about that. They're known to kidnap people, push them off cliffs, attack their victims with short knives and spears, and use sand to blind their victims. They're small and they're mischievous. And I guess at one point, the Wampanoag said that at one point, the Wampanoag said that they were a mischievous creature. And eventually, they said they were evil. And then also what I heard would kind of contradict this graphic that I have. Well, what I heard is that the legend goes, or the myth goes, that the Pukwudgie can't actually hurt you itself. So what it does is lure you to your demise, lure you to a bad decision, lure you to jump off the cliff, doesn't push you, doesn't actually hurt you himself. So that's what I heard about them. But I go back and watch that live stream last week. I posted some pictures from my friend Sue, of a picture of something really bizarre that she captured that at the Peter Oliver house in the driveway that is really strangely looks like it's about 3 feet tall with a kind of a weird back to it. I don't know. It's really weird. I would say go back and watch it anyways because it was so full of information. But the Pukwudgies are real tricksters, and they're nothing ever good came of them, is from what I understand. And then I also understand in the swamps that they are known to turn into balls of light. So you've heard of will-o'-the-wisp. You've heard of what are some of the other swamp lights, will-o'-the-wisp, orbs, ghost lights, those kind of things. So when you see those kind of things in the Hockomock Swamp, that's what they're said to be. It's said to be a Pukwudgie kind of changing shape. So they're also shapeshifters, which, if anybody knows anything about shapeshifters, they're pretty freaking dangerous. So be careful of them. Let's see. It's also I guess it's a lot of Bigfoot sightings in that area. If you want to know anything about Bigfoot, check out Banter with Richie B. Look him up on Facebook or YouTube. He's a local Bigfoot investigator, and he takes what he does very seriously. And I really enjoyed watching some of his videos and learning something about something that I knew absolutely nothing about. Let's see. I said about the snakes. Oh, also about the Bridgewater Triangle. Aaron Hernandez. I am from Bristol, Connecticut, and Aaron Hernandez, we all know, played for the New England Patriots, and I don't need to get into his dirty deeds done dirt cheap. But he did some of those dirty deeds in the Bridgewater Triangle. Just saying. I'm not saying the Bridgewater Triangle had anything to do with it. I think he was a case of CTE from just too many slams to the head from football. But I just think it was interesting to note. It just kind of adds to the mystery, because there were a lot of weird deaths in that area, in that 200 square mile area of the Bridgewater Triangle. Let's see. Also, Linda, if you're still watching, I just want to say, my friend Linda's watching. I work with Linda at Ladybug Pest Control. I always like to give a shout out to Ladybug Pest Control, my day job, because without the day job, there is no night job live streaming. So very grateful to Ladybug Pest Control. Thank you very much. And that was our little commercial break. The next thing I wanted to talk about was Lake Nipanicket, and I hope I'm not mispronouncing it, and if I am, forgive me. But if you see where I have the Hockomock Swamp, that blue, you can see there's a lake in the middle of the Hockomock Swamp, okay? It's a very small lake in the middle of the swamp. It's only, just got to show that back. Thank you, Linda. Thank you. The Lake Nipanicket, it's actually I guess it's a big lake, but it's only 7 to 8 feet at its deepest. But it's swampy around the edges. There's rumored to be quicksand. Now, anybody out there, I'm looking at this group of people who is following me. Remember when we were kids and Saturday morning cartoons and shit that we used to watch? Did you not think that quicksand was going to be a bigger problem than it actually turned out to be? Right. So, anyways, yeah, I thought there was going to be quicksand, and there isn't. But I guess there is in the Hockomock Swamp. But yeah, it's only 7 to 8 feet deep. There have been disappearances there. There have been people who drowned there. There's been reports of people seeing fires across the lake. So it would look like there was a party going on across the lake, and people would get in their boat and go over there, and there would be nothing there. No fire, no people, no remnants of a fire, nothing burning, no wood, no smoke. And so that happens quite frequently there. So there's some mysterious lights that happen on the shore of Lake Nipanicket. There is an island, and I apologize for not writing it down, but again, I mean, honestly, look at how many notes I thought. So I'm sorry for not having every detail. But there's a small island in Lake Nipponicket, and there's a report of there's several credible, I don't want to call them credible, but it seems like they seem to come from credible sources, and they're modern too. They're current reports of an orange, almost like ape-like small animal inhabiting this island in Lake Nipponicket. So I don't know much about that except just to say that's just a little blurb that I found. But I gotta say right here about the Bridgewater Triangle, like I said, there's going to have to be a part 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 20, because I spent an hour a day every day after work for the last 2 weeks researching this, and every day I found something else. Like, fall, when I researched Lizzie Borden and it ended up turning into a thing on Fall River. Well, that was really cool, and I found a shit ton of information in a week and put together a really good presentation. And I could have found more stuff. Oh, hi, Nathan. Hi, Nate. Nice to see you. Sorry, I don't have any brownies. Thanks for joining in. It's my friend Nathan. Yeah, oh, I don't even notice. Oh, there's so many different aspects to the Bridgewater Triangle that every day it was something new, and I would start looking at it and like, wait, I got to get back on track to this. So, like I said last week, if anybody knows the show, shit, now I can't think of it. Oh, Penny Dreadful. Anything was on Showtime. And it was, I enjoyed it very much. It was a show about, oh, hi, Sue. And Nathan always likes the brownies. But Penny Dreadful was a show, took place in the late 1800s. And it was really cool because it converged some of my favorite horror novel characters. Count Dracula. Oh, I can hear my dog barking in the background. Sorry. Count Dracula, The Portrait of Dorian Gray, werewolves, and they made them all kind of live and interact in the same timeline, and I just really thought it was very clever and well done, and thought that was really cool. Well, that's how I feel about the Bridgewater Triangle. It is such a convergence of anything that you've ever heard of. It's paranormal, all in this 200 square mile place, which I just think is totally bizarre. But I guess when you look at the bigger picture of it being inhabited by some type of humans for over 8,000 years, and the bloodshed, the betrayal, the history that's there, the deaths, the births, the celebrations, the American history, Peter Oliver House, Sue and Nathan, you know the history there with Ben Franklin and taking those letters, and it really was the birth of our nation. So there's just so much that's happened throughout history in that small location. It's kind of no wonder all this weird stuff happens there. So, all right. So the last thing that I was talking about was Lake Nipponicket and the red-headed orangutan creatures, but here's an interesting story. So in 1916, I'm not sure exactly what area this was in, but anyways, in 1916, a woman, West Bridgewater. So I think I'm getting kind of a little bit away from the swamp but maybe not. In 1916, a woman named Evelyn Packard disappeared. I think she was canoeing. I don't think she was canoeing in the swamp. I think she was canoeing in a river. But she disappeared in 1916. And a reporter who was looking for her found this in, I guess it was the Hockomock Swamp, found what they decided to call Solitude Rock. So they found this rock that had this inscription in it. And it says, all ye who in future days walk by Nuckatesset stream, love not him who hummed his lay, cheerful to the parting beam, but the beauty that he wooed in this quiet solitude. And that is what's etched into that stone. And so that was in 1916 that it was discovered. And it turns out that approximately don't have the year here, but quite a few years earlier, a man by the name of Reverend Timothy Otis Payne, no relation to me, was credited with etching that. Now, what I find interesting about Timothy Otis Payne, geez, anybody, without giving up your anonymity, if there's any Boston AA people out there, just give me a mental, you don't have to give up your anonymity, but who knows Swedenborg? Come on, who's ever been to a meeting at Swedenborg? This old drunk has, geez. Well, it turns out, well, Swedenborg is a church in Boston, and I went to a lot of AA meetings there, and I'm laughing about it, but don't get me wrong, AA saved this old drunk's life, so I'll give an AA a plug there. But anyways, the guy who wrote that poem, who etched it into that stone, and my goodness, that must have been a lot of work, in the 1800s, he was a follower of Emanuel Swedenborg. Now, I used to go to meetings at Swedenborg Church. I didn't attend services at Swedenborg Church, so I never really knew what it was, but I knew that it was just kind of a little off from regular Christianity, whatever regular Christianity might be, mainstream Christianity, whatever. But so anyways, this guy who etched this rock was a follower of Emanuel Swedenborg, who was a theologian who had ties to the Freemasons and to early occult movements in the United States. So I find that connection interesting. So this is this reverend that etched this rock in the Bridgewater Triangle had ties to Swedenborg, and I never knew the history of Swedenborg Church. So I just find it interesting that now there's this connection to this guy who's a Freemason. And if you know where Swedenborg Church is in Boston, it's around, it's near North Church and all that kind of stuff. And there's definitely heavy Freemason sway or influence, or there was anyways, in that area at the founding of this country. So I just thought that was interesting. So even though that rock was found in the Bridgewater Triangle, I thought that was interesting about Swedenborg. I had no idea. And if you see what I'm saying about the Bridgewater Triangle, it's like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, let me look up more about Swedenborg. Oh, Borg. Oh, he had a Christian church and he was into the occult. Oh, and he was a Freemason. And oh, look at the history of how that ties into the building of this country. And oh, it's right near the North Church. And so anyways, it's interesting how it all ties in kind of together. I think that I've always said this about Boston. Boston is a big city. But it's a relatively small geographic area. I think you could say the same about Massachusetts. If you look at some of the bigger cities, they're much geographically larger. So a lot of our stuff happened in the Massachusetts Bay Colony early on. And so anyways, I digress. I'm sorry about that. So anyways, they called this Solitude Rock. This rock that had that poem on there, and I don't know why the Reverend put that poem there. And if anybody does know, please say it. Be interested to find that out. But they also found out that back in 1880, prior to the Reverend Timothy Otis Payne etching that poem into stone, a man killed himself at the site of that rock, and later more people committed suicide there, and instead of calling it Solitude Rock anymore, they started calling it Suicide Rock, which is kind of sad. But anyways, there are other rock formations in that area, which I thought was very interesting. There were a few that I could not get pictures of. There was something called Lady Abington. I saw a drawing. It was copyrighted. I don't mind taking pictures off Google Images and sharing them here, but I was not comfortable sharing this particular image because it was a very personal image that somebody had hand-drawn. So, but anyways, I couldn't find any pictures of Lady Abington. I'm not sure where she was in Abington, but it was a profile rock of a woman, and she was destroyed so that they could put a road in. that stinks. And Abington being in the Bridgewater Triangle. And let's see, then there's another one called Profile Rock. I do have a picture of this one. This is in Freetown State Park. Freetown being in the bottom, if you were looking at that map in the bottom right. I don't know, I think Freetown State Park might be in the middle of the Bridgewater Triangle. I'm not 100% sure. Anyways, you can see from both perspectives that this clearly looks like an indigenous person. So this area is said to have mystical powers. But you can also see in the picture on the right that there's some vandalism there. And what I read about this, which I thought was kind of sad, is that this is not taken care of the way that New Hampshire used to take care of the old man in the mountain, even though he's gone and he fell from natural weather and disaster, which was so sad. I'm so glad I got to see that in my lifetime. But yeah, so this is another one. So also I couldn't find a picture, but I saw it on a YouTube video, and again, it was just, I wasn't going to take a screen grab of it. It was in Middleborough. There's a rock with a handprint in it, which I think would be really difficult to do on a rock. And also a carving of a round face. So there's a lot of cool rock stuff there. There's also something called Dighton Rock, which I think logic would lead us to believe it's in Dighton. Let's see, where's Dighton on here? Can we see where Dighton is? Yeah, Dighton is kind of middle to lower. If you see Berkeley, it's between Rehoboth and Berkeley, so that's where Dighton is, okay? So Dighton Rock, let me see if I can add that. Oh yeah, Dighton Rock, that one's really cool. I don't know what year this was discovered. I'm looking at my notes. I don't know what year it was discovered, but if you look at that photograph on the top, well, both of these photographs are very, very old. Brighton Historical Dighton Rock on Taunton River, Taunton, Mass. So I guess it wasn't in Dighton. I don't know, maybe they changed town lines, whatever. I'm not going to nitpick. But the picture on the bottom right is, it's enhanced. It's digitally enhanced for you to see the carvings and the drawings that are on there. And interestingly, this was actually found underwater. I don't know how they got it out. I don't know what kind of equipment they would have used back then. And I say back then because clearly that was some time ago. So there are 5 theories as to what's going on with Dighton Rock. And I'm going to go down the list and talk a little bit about each one. And again, sorry about my notes. And with my colored pens, it just makes me so happy. So Dighton Rock. So the first theory is that these are carvings from native or indigenous peoples. The second theory is that they're Norse. The third theory is that they're Phoenician. Fourth theory is that they're Portuguese, and the fifth theory is that they're ancient or prehistoric. So let's see, Norse, it's possible because there's definitely proof that the Vikings were in what I call geographically North America. There's definitely proof that the Vikings were here thousands of years ago. No denying that. But this doesn't look like traditional Norse kind of language and carvings, according to historians. Phoenician, I think it doesn't really match the time period. I'm not 100% sure what Phoenician is, but what I think it is, it does not match the time period. So process of elimination says I don't think so on that. Do your own research. Don't take my word for it. Fourth, Portuguese. That's unlikely because while there is a very large Portuguese immigrant population in that area, in Fall River, in that area, that the Portuguese didn't really start emigrating here until the 1500s, and this really predates that. So that eliminates that. So, and then you have number 5, which is ancient / prehistoric. So gals, ghosts, and ladies votes for, I'm voting for 2, number 1 and number 5. I'm voting for, but not in that order. I'm voting for number 5 and number 1. Number 5 being ancient / prehistoric. If anybody watches Ancient Aliens, come on, look at that. Look at that. And that is definitely going to be a subject, a multi-part live stream the ancient alien theory, because I got a lot to say about that shit. But so anyways, I think that this is ancient prehistoric and possibly with a combination of native or indigenous. That is personally my theory. If you have a different theory, I would love to hear it. And I would love to know why you think what you think. Let's have a conversation about this. But that's what I think about Dighton Rock. And actually now it's actually in a protected, it sits in a little hut. I don't have a picture of that, but it's protected. If anybody's ever been there, let me know, and let me know what you thought of it. And it's supposedly it's a powerful rock to be around. So whatever that means, you'd have to go and find out. Like I said, check it out for yourself. Don't just take my word for it. Also, in places like Lakeville and Taunton, there are many placed or perched rocks that would be like in a ravine and a deliberate, I don't know, a rock deliberately placed on something. Again, I just couldn't get pictures of everything. There's so much information. And I'm looking at the clock, and I've been talking for 45 minutes, and I can't believe it, because there's so much more to say that we're not going to get to about the Bridgewater Triangle. So let's see. I mentioned the Hornbein School. I thought that was interesting that Rehoboth is considered the home of public education and had so many one-room schoolhouses at one time. I would certainly love to check out the one-room schoolhouse down there and investigate. There's also, and I heard about when I, like, an hour before I went live, so like at 4:30 tonight, I was watching Bridgewater Triangle videos, just trying to suck every last bit of information into my presentation, and I heard about something called the Dover Demon. It's like, what? For the last 2 weeks, I've been looking shit up on the Bridgewater Triangle, and I never heard of the Dover Demon, so now I got another rabbit hole to go down. No idea what it is. But I do want to say that in the Bridgewater Triangle, there have also been historically a lot of UFO sightings. So I think I'm gonna kind of wind up with this UFO story. There have been credible UFO sightings going as far back as 1908 in the Bridgewater Triangle. Credible in that when there is a UFO sighting, it is seen by many people, not just one person, not just some guy drunk down by the railroad tracks. No offense to anybody, but they seem to be credible reports. So, like I said, as far back as 1908, but in 1970. In 1970, there were 2 reporters for WHDH. Any of my local peeps, Nathan, Sue, Linda, Sybil, anybody out there, WHDH? So what's that? Channel 4? No, it's WBC. WHDH. Anyways, I don't know. You know that's local. 2 reporters, Steve Spracia and Jerry Lopes, were on their way to the Raynham dog track. It sounds like they had the day off, these 2 reporters, and they didn't say they were going to cover a story. Sounds like they were going to the racetrack. Good for them. Who doesn't love a little bit of gambling? Certainly this girl does. That's for sure. Run to my family. But they were on their way to the track, and they had a very bizarre encounter. They said that a very large thing came down above them in the sky, and it was shaped like a baseball diamond, and it had lights, and it was so big that it blocked out the light, and they both saw it, and they didn't know what the hell they were seeing, and it was very big. So this was actually along Route 44. If anybody knows that route, I do. Raynham, Taunton, Sybil, I think you probably know that area, right? Actually, forgive me, there's UFO sightings going back to the 1600s. They start being documented in 1908, like newspapers. So there's actually sightings back in the 1600s, not just the natives, but the colonists. Forgive me for not having that piece of my note with me. At the right time. So, but anyway, Steve Spracia and who, by the way, Steve Sprasia went on to become a reporter for Channel 5 for 15 years. So again, anybody my age who's from this area, you may remember him. I'm going to show their pictures in just a minute. But they weren't going to tell anybody what they saw. And also Jerry Lopes had been in the Air Force, so he knew aircrafts. They decided not to tell anybody anything about what they saw. And then the Brockton Enterprise, which again, any of my local peeps know that is a legit newspaper. The Brockton Enterprise covered it. Hundreds and hundreds of people had seen this thing. It was seen in Pembroke. It was seen in Rehoboth, not in Rehoboth, in Raynham, in Taunton. Sue, I gotta share this from Sue. Many witnesses, and I'm sure they did say it was a weather balloon. I'm sure that's what they said, because I think that people do know more about certain things than they let on, right? And Nathan said Nathan says this too. There are a number of UFO sightings in this area in the 1800s. So now we're talking about UFO sightings in the 1600s from both the indigenous and the colonists. UFO sightings, as Nathan says, in the 1800s. Sue says the 70s. I've got one here from the early 1900s, and then this other story that I'm talking about that's in the 70s. That's a lot of sightings in a small area. I think, I'm not saying what they are. I don't know if it was a weather balloon or not, but I do know that that's kind of a pat answer when maybe they're trying to hide something or they don't know what it is. But let's see. So this is Steve Sprasia and Jerry Lopes. Oh, I said 1970. I'm sorry, 1979. They were working, like I said, for WHDH at the time. Again, my Massachusetts people know that WHDH is a legitimate television outlet. It was certainly before the time of fake news and news on Facebook and all that bullshit. So I would consider 1979 WHDH probably was a pretty legit news outlet. And then again, Steve Sprasia, I remember him on, this picture is from him on Channel 5. I remember him on Channel 5 for years. I still watch Channel 5. So after that came out in the Brockton Enterprise, they came out with their story as well. And they just really added so much credibility to that story, or to that situation. I don't want to say story. Story almost implies that it didn't really happen. So there were just literally hundreds of reports. And then what the Brockton Enterprise did was they interviewed several people individually with the sketch artist. And they came up with a composite. And again, there are just some things. I'll take anything off the internet, but you do have to be careful. I just didn't want to take somebody's composite drawing that they own. But the composite drawing of this UFO, what Steve Sprasia and Jerry Lopes said was it was exactly what they saw too. So the hundreds of people that they interviewed and made this composite drawing all reported seeing the same thing. Now, that being said, earlier I did a little, what I feel was like a little bit of debunking on kind of the pterodactyl and the giant bird thing in the Bridgewater Triangle. I saw turkey vultures that had 7-8 foot wingspans, and there are blue herons that have 8-foot wingspans in that area. So that's legit. I think that may bust a couple of myths, not Pukwudgie myths, not Mothman sighting myths, not Sasquatch myths, but it does bust some of the giant bird myths, the pterodactyl myths, that kind of thing. But I just wonder, and I just have to throw it out there because I want to know the truth. And Sue, I wonder what you think of this, and Nathan as well. Back during that time, wasn't there an Air Force base in Weymouth? Air Force base, say that 3 times fast. Let me take a sip of my drink. an Air Force base in Weymouth. Wasn't that there? So I think that that opens up a couple of different possibilities. It opens up that it was some type of American military aircraft being tested. Yeah, Sue, you remember. And I think now they turned the Weymouth Air Base into its housing now. They turned it into high end. Oh, no kidding. So you know exactly the place I'm talking about. Yeah. Um, so I think that there is definitely a possibility that now it's certainly not in the 1600s and not in 1908, but in the 1970s, um, some type of American military aircraft could have been seen. That's a possibility that shouldn't have been seen. So I want to throw that in there. So that definitely adds to the mystery. Whatever it wasn't meant to be seen. We know that much. So that makes it mysterious right then and there. Whether it was a UFO or not, I don't. Well, yes, it was because it's unidentified. It is a UFO. Um, but is it otherworldly? Is it from another planet? I don't know. I don't know. But again, even if it is an American aircraft or a military aircraft, you weren't meant to see it. You weren't supposed to see it. And that's why the weather balloon story, Sue, right? That's why that kind of stuff. Um, and the other possibility it opens up that's connected to the Weymouth Air Base is that if there were UFO activity in this area, where would they house it? Where would they store it? Where would they study it? At the Air Force Base, right? Right. So that's what I think about that. And like I said, if you're watching Gals, you know it's about my opinions. You're free to look up your own theories. But I thought that both of those, I thought the very first thing I thought of was the Weymouth Air Base when I hear of these more modern day stories. Oh, hi, Carrie. Hi, Carrie. You guys previously possessed painted furniture. That's Carrie. You guys remember her from last Sunday. Um, so that's exactly what I was talking about. Dighton Rock is in a place now where you can go see it, thankfully, so it doesn't degrade. Thank you for sharing that piece of information, Carrie. Um, but yeah, what I was saying about the UFO sightings, I think that that is, in my opinion, that's not unreasonable things, especially in the 1970s, for either a sighting to be a U.S. military aircraft that wasn't supposed to be seen, making it a mystery, or something that maybe Weymouth, I don't know, like an Area 51 thing. Maybe they had a UFO there. I don't know, and it snuck out. I don't know, making shit up. But I think you get what I'm saying in the bigger picture. So I think that's kind of a good way to end tonight's live stream. I hope I didn't present anything to you as this is fact. Um, and underground, and thanks, Nathan, for saying that, because in my head I'm going, so it's housing now, but what did they do with everything? You don't just go in and you don't just hire merry maids to come in and clean your UFO stuff up. Um, you know, so underground, top secret. Thank you. And I'm going to add that to my list of research. Oh my God. Jeez. See what I mean about the Bridgewater Triangle? At every turn, there's just another garden path being led down. And a Bigfoot sighting on Union Street in Weymouth. Oh my, I was just driving on Union Street in Weymouth Friday. Oh my God, this is crazy. So I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. I hope you enjoyed tonight's show on the Bridgewater Triangle. I feel like this hour absolutely flew, and I didn't even scratch the surface of the amount of information that I had here in these notes to talk about. So there's definitely going to be more on the Bridgewater Triangle. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you for commenting. It means a lot when I see my friends tuning in too. Thanks a lot, you guys. And so thank you for watching live on Facebook. Thank you for watching live on YouTube. And if you are watching this as a live, kind of as a rerun later on, thank you all very much. I hope I didn't get off on too many tangents because my goodness, there's just so much information here. I really look forward to doing more deep dives into it. I look forward to having more presentations for you, and bringing you more information on it as I come across it. And thank you, Sue, and thank you, Nathan. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. And you guys, I'll see you in a few weeks. I'm really looking forward to that too. You know where? In the Bridgewater Triangle. I'll be seeing you guys. Ah, what a cool way to wrap it up. Some of my viewers, I'll be seeing you in the Bridgewater Triangle. Thank you all very much. And hopefully tomorrow I'll be posting some future content. See you in the Bridgewater Triangle. Good night, everybody.